I'll get a holder.
It says we're live. I don't see anybody yet. Let's see. What am I looking for now? It's Facebook. We've got one.
Hi, friends. It's Jerry Ann. So we're going to wait just a minute or two longer until we have a few more friends with us. And I am kind of waiting on Doug to get his phone set up so I can kind of see what's happening. That way comments, as they come in. So we're glad you're here. I think Facebook's gone from his little laptop. From his little phone. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so happy that you are here. I hope that it has been a wonderful and marvelous Monday. When we started doing this, I don't even remember. Was that like October, maybe? That we started doing this. And today, I never know what I'm going to do until the day of, and then suddenly I figure it out as we go. So, if there's ever anything that you want to talk about or you want to learn, if I don't know, I can say that. Of course, I would say that. But if I do know, I'd be more than happy to teach you and show you how and so forth and so on. Okay, he's got his phone ready for me so I can see. Oh, look, we do have people.
Lynn, Kathy Johnson.
Woohoo! Hey, everybody. We're so happy you're here. So I'm going to introduce you to a quilt that is behind me. What did I call it? Do you remember?
It was the window in the corner of the booth.
Okay, so while I'm thinking of the name of this quilt, because that's something I want to talk about. I name every quilt. Doesn't mean I can remember their names, but if I have it, if I have a name, then eventually it'll come to me. It's just, I don't know why I can't think of it. But this little quilt is using my Dresden plates. And so it is, hey, that's just frozen. Will you help me? So this little quilt is made with blocks, and I want to show you how I did it. It is 6 blocks across and 5 blocks this way. So it was 30 blocks. And you can see the construction is super easy. A block and sashing and then another block. So to give it some dimension, I put 2 different yellows. And the reason I chose this block tonight is, y'all have probably seen, I put it out on Annie McHugs' Facebook page, the Pantone color of the year next year is yellow, and then the secondary color is gray. I find that really curious, because at market a year ago, I had this quilt in my corner of the booth, so it turned the corner. Half was laying here and, half was here. And people literally thought it was a window and wondered how I got a window in the corner. And I'm like, y'all, it's a quilt. So I had a lot of confused people until they got up close. From a distance, I had a lamp on it, and it confused people. But I had a fabric company, designs and makes and so forth fabric, come up to me and asked me if I would design fabric. And I thought that was kind of odd. Just by looking at my booth, there was nothing indicating that I would design fabric. And I asked, I said, no, I'd love to someday, but I'm not there yet. And why would you ask? And they said, because your color choices. And they were looking at this. Now, I don't know if they knew what was going to happen in a year, but they were really struck by the color yellow. And what happens is, this has been such a dark year. Just in our lives, it's been heavy, it's been hard. So dark colors kind of go with that sort of theme. Yellow is more bright and light and airy. And we have not used it in years and years. And so this year, they're introducing it with the gray to tone it, tone down the brightness. So now back to this. I used 2 different yellow blocks. Can you see that? I don't even know if you can see on the camera the distance. The difference. This is a yellow with a sunshine, I'm in shadows, yellow with a little print on it. And this one is a yellow with a dot. They're very, very similar in color, but they are different. So when you get up close to it, you can see subtle differences. And those subtle differences give it some dimensions. So just be aware of that when you're putting something like this together. So it was super quick and easy construction. Each row was, I did it as if this were the top. So it's hanging sideways actually from the way I constructed it. It's not hanging sideways necessarily. It's just the way I constructed it. But I did rows. So it's just rows and sashing, and, you know, the whole thing. And I alternated colors. Then I put a border around it. So my Dresdens, the picture window Dresdens, all of them have, hey, Ann Stone, hey, Mindy, hey, Pam. I'm so glad y'all are commenting. That lets me know y'all are here. So what I did on this was I used both the small Dresden that's in the tool set and the large Dresden. And Doug, you have a magnifying thing on your phone. You might want to, are you scared to, you'll mess it up?
I don't want to lock up the phone.
Okay. Got it? Can y'all see those little home ec? That's the name of the quilt. I thought of it. So look at my center. That's the center points. I did the points in the center. But you see these little yellow, I don't know, like rays coming out of the center. I'll talk about that in a second. I just wanted you to notice it. But these were on the fabric. Okay. So thank you. I know you're good. I'm just, y'all talking to the cameraman. Okay. So what I did in all of these, except this one, I just used colors that were in this home ec fabric. This is a Michael Miller fabric, and it was called home ec, and they couldn't sell it because it was super cute and very retro and kind of kitschy, but it was, people didn't know what to do with it. I mean, what do you do with a bunch of women that are in the kitchen cooking? Well, it worked perfectly for my purposes. So I went to the fabric and chose the main colors. Red, blue, black, yellow. And so I just pulled colors from that. So now these look like, I don't know, floating stars or something. And what I did was, after I constructed the whole top, like the whole thing, then I top stitched my small Dresdens onto the intersections. You see, that's what I did. I just found the center and found the center of the sashing on all of these. And then on the big one, I just put it in that top corner. So now imagine this hanging vertically. That would be in the top left corner, and this in this scenario where it's hanging sideways. Now in all of these, I put those little sprockets. And so let me explain that process to you. You can find instructions all over, well, Pinterest or anywhere. But the way it works, hey Ann, hey Diana, and Nita too. Hey Nita. Does this remind you of Romper Room when she would spit out names? I love giving y'all a shout out. When you put two of the wedges or the blades together, when you're using my tool and you start sewing the wedges together, or the blades together, if you cut a little piece of fabric and stitch it in between as you stitch that and open it up, that's what causes this. And there are instructions all over everywhere, and I can show you if that's something y'all want to learn to do. It gives it a very starburst sort of feel to it, and it allows you to do secondary, you know, sort of, hey Connie, secondary colors within the block. So black and red with blue, or blue and black with yellow. So it's real fun. Now I did applique on this quilt. The center is a circle applique, and the edges are, you know, there's lots of ways to do that. the way I like to do it is make a circle, 1/4 of an inch bigger than what I need, snip, glue down the edges, and then iron it, and then applique it down. So I did that in all of these, in every single one on this quilt. So the only open circle was that one that I did on the large Dresden. Questions about that? Thank you, Tawny. Oh, and thank you, Tawny, for your card. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I meant to, 17 times I've meant to send you a note and say thank you. This is a very fun quilt to do. You could do it in any colors whatsoever. But I was thinking about yellow, and I was thinking about the Pantone color of the year. And yellow is not used very often. We're not used to using it. So I wanted to encourage you to try using it, because yellow can be overwhelming, or it can be very, very soft. So I suspect with yellow being the color of the year, we'll be seeing a lot of pastel yellows in the spring. Nita and I play a game. Hey, Leah. Nita Brown and I play a game, and I'll tell her, hey, I think gingham or checks or something is coming back in style, and then she'll see it. So, Nita, we're playing a game again, and I am predicting that very soft yellows and pastels will be really big in the spring, and I think in the summer we'll see more of the bright yellows. And then, of course, yellow can be used in the fall. The golden yellows for autumn is always super, super good to use. Okay, so I've had a really busy week. I have no idea what I've done. What have I mean, it's just like I have no idea what I've done.
Quilt after quilt after quilt.
Well, he's right. I have quilted and quilted and quilted. I'm trying to, so I'm the, I think I told y'all this, I'm the cobbler that doesn't take care of their own children until they've got holes in their shoes. I'm working on Christmas presents. I've sent off 4 quilts to a nephew and his family in New Jersey. Heads up, the USPS, which is, I send it through the postal post office. It was I sent it on Thursday, and they said it would be there Monday. It didn't get there until Thursday. So everything is delayed because everybody's shipping everywhere all the time. So if you've got something to ship out, go ahead and do it. So I thought I would tell you, hey, Janice, glad everybody is here. I want to show you some, another couple of ideas that I came across this week when I was thinking about fun, quick, and easy gifts. I use a planner, a month at a glance. I've taught you all about that before. So a month at a glance. But this is something I found today that didn't fit my planner, but I'm going to adjust it this year so I can use it. Look, it is elastic on the back. This is just a piece of fabric that was folded, and a little pocket was put on the front. So we can figure this construction out pretty quick, pretty easy. The pocket's not lined, it is finished, and it is decorated with a button and then stitched closed at the top and the bottom. It was made specifically for a planner size, but so it's too big for this one, but I can adjust that. I'm gonna sort of remake it and hem it, if you will. But I want to show you how I do it. So even if it was the right size, all I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten my elastic, right? And then I will stretch it over my calendar at a glance week and leave this on the front. So this is a great little Christmas gift for any friend that doesn't sew. When you give them something that you've sewn like this, they're always appreciative. I just know this from experience. This is also great over a Bible or, books that you carry or whatever. Another thing I'm going to recommend to you is go get either any brand you want. I don't have any stock in the company, but a friction pen. This is the kind we use on our fabric. But you know, friends, that it was made, it's got a little eraser on the end. And it was made originally as erasable ink. So they made it for schools, right? So it erases. Well, it also comes off, you know, when you iron. The heat will also, be careful though. On a dark fabric, a light friction pen might shadow. It might leave a little white shadow. But what I would recommend is if you make something like this, give them a friction pen because they work in your calendar. And I don't know about y'all, but one of the things I usually write in ink because I love gel pens. But I've decided this year, the year of COVID, that I better have erasable ink in my calendar. So I've started using a friction pen in my calendar. So that's one idea. I can't remember if I've shown this to you or not. Have y'all ever seen these little paper clips? So literally, I don't throw much away. These are paper clips, just plain, you know, dollar store paper clips, the large ones. Scraps of fabric in a U shape. I think I have shown y'all this. Here's the end that's, this end has two, whatever this is called, curves. And this end just has one curve. You stick it in the one curve end all the way through, and then you grab the two, it's a slip knot, so you grab the two ends through the loop, and then you have this. Oh, I just want y'all to know, I put that, you see how I have these? I have them everywhere, always. I always have these on my books. So, like, here's my membership form of my girlfriends that are in my Quilt Guild with me. And you'll know I have a new phone, I have a new computer, I have a new everything. Which is work. But anyway, I have this because I haven't programmed everybody's number in yet. And I get a lot of texts that I have no idea who's writing. So I have that. But that's what I do. So that's a fun little gift. I send one of those out a lot. Here's another idea. A sweet friend of mine gave me this journal earlier this year. And as a quilter, I wanted to, I don't journal. I try to take pictures kind of as a journal, you know, just a timeline of what I'm working on at such time, you know. But I did want to keep track of my quilt blocks that I made for the Bible quilt. So, I started this. I took this journal and I called it my quilty journal, and then my Bible blocks. And I have been keeping up with which Bible blocks I made when. And I started this journal in May, and I had already finished 13 of my blocks. And then I've been keeping up with it as best I can. And then I fell off. I'm not great about it, but I try. So it is keeping track of my quilt that I'm making that is the Bible block quilt. Hang on one second. I'm going to grab something. Look, I'm coming out with a tool later this year that will be, no, not this year. I'm sorry, I did not mean that. It will not be in 2020. It'll be in 2021. That will make a circle for these Bible blocks. And this is what my quilt is going to look like. Pat, I love friction pens too. Yeah, Bible journaling is a really big deal. I'm going to go back to that little elastic thing. You can make those as wide as you want. So if you go to the store and pick up 3 or 4 colored pens, you know, that gel pens or whatever, or whatever you're buying for Bible journaling. Just make it wider to accommodate that. Super easy. So this is what my quilt's going to look like, sort of. Y'all know that when you're designing, you have an idea and you sketch it out. Well, this is what the blocks are going to look like. So this is the story. This block right here is the story. It is in 2 Kings 4:2. And this woman, the Bible story, this woman was widowed, and she had 2 little boys, and they were out of money, and they didn't have any money, and they were, in fact, they were about to starve to death. And Elisha comes along, and she begs him to help her. And he said, "What do you have in your house? What do you have?" And she said, "I have some oil in a jar." And he said, "Go to your neighbors and borrow every jar, every pot, every jar you can collect." Y'all, these are my words. I'm telling you the story. I didn't memorize it right out of the Bible. You know that, right? So she goes and collects all these jars and from all of her neighbors, and he tells her to shut the door and start pouring. And from her little jar that wasn't even full of oil, she filled all the jars in the house. I love that story. I love that the Lord will provide, and I love that the Lord will provide starting with what we already have. That part just sends me, what do we have that we can use? And he will use that. So this is the block representing that whole story. I'll show you a couple tonight just for fun. I kind of have them in color order, but I have a whole rainbow. These are the fruits of the Spirit. So I used oranges. If y'all haven't seen the Christmas movie called Oranges for Christmas, it's a historical fiction story about a young girl who is orphaned, and the big gift for Christmas is they all get oranges. Oh, it's the sweetest little story. But anyway, this is fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So that was, and I wrote with my pens, my permanent marking pens, I wrote right on the block. I'll show you a couple more, just because I pulled a whole stack of them out. In Psalms, it says, "Let all the trees of the forest sing for joy." Okay, I read that, and I thought, wait a minute. The trees are singing for joy? Let all the trees of the forest sing for joy. I couldn't believe my eyes. I want to hear the trees sing for joy. That sounds awesome. So I had to make a block. You can see the little music notes. This was early in my little exploration with doing this. This one is, "But for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." And I wanted it to be really, really whimsical and bright and kind of pink. I would never buy a house that was pink, because I don't think Doug would want to live in a house that is pink. And I don't have the verse on this one, but I did so I'm not going to quote the verse, but it's the feather. And look how I beaded it. I had so much fun. I have learned that beading is my new favorite pastime. So I will take all of these and put them in a quilt, and one of these days. So I have 68 circles. 68 circles. So that means I need 68 blocks. And today I call this part the frame. I put the frame around numbers 61, 62, and 63. So tonight, afterwards, I will go back and work on the next one. So I'm moving quite rapidly through this. Well, it's been since April, so that's not very fast. So does anybody else do any handwork or beading or wool applique? because I am. And what the tool that I'll be coming out with makes this circle and a smaller circle in the middle. And this is a 8-inch block, but I think I'm going to do it on a, this is a 9-inch block. So the circle is going to be in the middle of it. So I'll be coming out with that next year. But you'll see the quilt in the meantime. Okay, what else? Questions? Y'all are so quiet. Okay, let me look around. What are we doing next? Okay, remember last week when I was working on, I had hanging behind me this big panel that was unquilted. Well, I got it quilted. And then I have 2 children. And Doug has 2 children. So I'm on quilt number 2. Oh, my goodness. So, you know, you just can't worry about things like that if it's not ready at Christmas. We don't have plans to see anybody. So, anyway, I got it quilted, and then I made another top. I showed you how I did the borders. So, I'm going to show you. Last time I said on this corner, next time I did it, I wanted to snowball this corner, right, to make that come around. Well, I did. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. That's the only difference really between the two. And I'm a thread picker. So the other thing I wanted to show you tonight, I want to talk about tonight, is long arm quilting. So I want to, maybe I should hold this up a little bit so you can see the pattern. Can you see the quilting pattern on here? I can't tell if you can see it or not. Can you see it? It's kind of a big diamond. Somebody comment and tell me if you can see that quilting pattern. You see what I did? So the reason I did that is because, do you see this? So I'm a long arm quilter. So when I look at something, I want something in the quilt to inspire me. I mean, there are some rules that quilters tend to follow. Like if it's a very linear, straight line quilt, you either accentuate it or, oh, thanks, Janice, thanks. And Pam, thanks. Y'all can see it. Okay, good. So, so if it's a very modern linear quilt with a lot of lines and angles, you can accentuate that, or you can de-accentuate, I guess is a word. So in a traditional quilt, let's say like, I don't know, maybe some sort of 9-patch or some sort of traditional quilt, what people have always, kind of the rule has always been is use softer lines and curves and flowing so it won't be so angular. So you have to kind of think about what you're going to do as far as your quilting pattern, quilting design that you actually quilt it together with. So I'm a long arm quilter, and so that's always one of the decisions that I have to make, whether I'm doing it for my own stuff or if I am going to be doing something for someone else. Mostly these days, I used to do it quilt for the public, and now I do a little bit, but not very much. And also I do a lot of charity quilting and then, you know, business quilting. So tonight what I thought I would do is talk to you about long arm quilting. Hey, Stephanie, thank you. So long arm quilting and some of the things that I know many of you know this, but for those of you who don't, this might help you. If you were to bring something for me to be quilted, what I ask you to do is to make sure that your back is 8 inches longer and 8 inches wider than the top. So the best way to do that I have found is I have a composition notebook. I know y'all think I'm nuts. But I can't remember. I don't memorize well. I never have been able to. I've told y'all that, I think. I've never learned languages because I can't. And what I do when look, these are just notes This is how, so here's my top, for example. This one was 72 inches wide and it was 80 inches long. So the back would need to be 80. Oh, this is what I measured when somebody brought it to me. It measured 86. That's long enough, but not quite as long as I would like it. The width was 80 wide, and that was 8 inches, so that was perfect. So I could work with this. I absolutely could work with that. But I always draw it out just like that. Look, here's another one. I'm telling y'all, I'm pretty consistent about this. The top is 60, and the length was 65. So you add 8. I needed it to be 73 by 68. That's the way I do it. So I make notes, and look, I call this quilting math. And it's not that it is really math, it's just measurements, right? So every time I start a quilt and I head to the machine, I measure before I put it on. So do you know why I measure to put it on before I put it on? Because so many times in my life I have gotten over there and I put the back on, which is, I don't know, 10 or 15, 10 minutes. It's not that. Yeah, I had to pick up, sorry. And then I put the batting on, and then I put the top on, and I get all the way to the bottom, and I don't have enough fabric, and it is a mess. It is a mess. It is a mess. So, I have to take it off the machine and add fabric and then load it again, and I'm telling y'all, it's just no fun at all. So, if you go to a long armor, find out what the additional length that you need and how wide. And I'll show you now why that is important. So Doug's going to pick up the phone and he's going to swivel through, before he does, he's going to swivel through my new workspace, but I still have one stack of junk. What am I going to, oh, sorry. What am I going to do with all this junk? I may just take the whole pile and throw it out. But as he swings by, everybody congratulate me on my new workspace. I'm just kidding. And then I'll meet you over at the quilting machine. Hey, Kathy. Glad you're here. Oh, I know. So, Mindy. My friend Mindy is a long arm quilter. So, she just commented, been there too. It's horrible to take a quilt off the machine. Okay, so this little quilt is the same as the one I did last week, right? It's the same exact panel. I chose the same exact quilting pattern, and I did the same back. I mean, I had enough fabric to do all the same. So my children are going to have matching quilts, except, I mean, you know, at their homes. Except look what I did. Can you see the corners here? They didn't match up perfectly, and you know what? It's my kids. I didn't have time to undo it, so I just snowballed this corner versus just having a square corner. If I was a really good mom, I'd go back and fix that, but I'm telling y'all, I was busy, and it was like, this is the best I can do. Okay, so here's my back. When you load a quilt, you load it with the back facing the floor. And then you put your batting on. I use 80-20 batting, and that is 80% cotton and 20% poly. But you have to remember, we live in Texas, and so I have a quilt over my feet most every single night of the year because the air conditioning, when I'm sitting and doing handwork and stuff, my feet get cold because I always wear sandals all year long, except on the coldest of cold days, and then I'll put on socks. This is when nobody's looking. Y'all realize that, right? I'll put on socks and then slip on sandals because I don't know. I love shoes, but I don't like to wear them. And I won't go barefoot. I refuse to go barefoot. There are too many obstacles that can hurt my tender feet. Okay, so that's the batting that I use. And then here's the top. And you can see I have to have room, and I have excess, plenty of excess because I made the back and I had plenty. I need to be able to strap it to the sides, both sides, and to the front and the back. So that's what a long arm quilter does with your stuff if you've never seen this before. And then what I do is I start in one corner and I mark this whole block, and then I put my pattern inside that block and let it print. But I just want y'all to see something. For if you've not ever done this, I'm going to go open my files. I just want y'all to, and I'm going to go over here. Look, all of these are files that designs are housed in. So for example, I'm going to look only at continuous line designs. So I'm going to scroll and you tell me which one you would like to use. And this is just in one file. So when we say we have 1,500 designs to choose from, we're not joking. We really do. So always depend on your long armor she'll know. It's usually a she. If it's not a she, forgive me. But she'll know exactly. I mean, she'll give you some ideas. So there, see, this one just has 17 in that particular file, which is fine. There are, by the time you get all the ones that I've bought and the ones that I've been given and the ones that are free downloads, digital quilting design shops online, you digitally download. So if there is a pattern that you particularly want, go shop for it. So the ones I use are is it Urban Elements? UrbanElements.com, is that right? And Mindy just used one I sent her today on a vintage tablecloth. Oh, that's awesome. And hey Noelle. So I use, but you can go look for digital, long arm digital designs. That's what I usually do. Urban Elements is one. Digitech is another. I have a list of them over there. You can, I've had good luck with all of them. So you want to swing back around that way and I'll go back over here? He's showing you all my secrets. So I've had friends do that. I've had friends that say, hey, I want a butterfly or whatever design. And I'll say, go find it. And if you go find it, then I'll buy it and I'll download it. And then I'll just have it in my, in my file forever. So if there's a motif that you particularly want, my daughter-in-law's mom was particularly fond of dragonflies. And so I went and bought a dragonfly. I hadn't thought about that in years. How funny. So I started categorizing mine by holiday also. Can y'all see this? Can you see the snowflakes? Do I have it angled right?
Yeah, you don't have to worry about an angle.
Okay. All right. So you see this? It swirls and then snowflakes. This is the, this is the back. I may have shown y'all this quilt. I have to figure out which is up, which is down. Oh, that was right. Last week. I may have shown you this last week. You see it? So on this one, it's just a whole cloth. And this is one of, those tables that are, those folding tables that are, how long is it? 6 feet long, Doug? Mm-hmm. 6 feet long and, I don't know.
32 inches or something wide.
About 32 inches wide. I wanted a tablecloth to go on that whole table. So I did a whole cloth. And and it's a winter scene, so I used that little design. But your long arm quilter, you can see the design from this side too. That long arm, oh, and here, this is really good. That shows well. So your long arm quilter will give you ideas. I had a girlfriend over last week who we were quilting for her, and she came over and she stayed the whole day, which is so much fun when that happens. And hey Jack, I'm in the middle of working on a quilt for you. I'm so happy to see you here. So my girlfriend was over and she was doing 2 grandsons, and they had similar but different colored quilts. And she said, I want that same pattern. And I said, well, let me show you one that's very similar, but it's a little bit different. And she chose it because it was very linear and looked like eyes and stuff. So it's fun to, I don't know if it's fun. I recommend you talk to your quilter about what you want on your quilting. Okay, so my new tool, the packaging is supposed to be done today or tomorrow. Super excited about that. And the tool looks like this. Should I put white behind it? Does that help? Okay. The tool looks like this, and it's the orange peel. And it's the reverse applique, just like we've been doing all along. However, this tool can, I'm going to show you something tonight that 2 quilts that were made using, I had a template before my tool got made that we used, but you will be able to use my tool to do. And it's this quilt. I don't know if I've shown it. Have y'all seen this? Okay. So this is like this. This is bias tape. Do y'all know how easy bias tape is to make? You get that little thing, you iron it as it comes out, and it makes it. You need miles of it, so just be prepared, but it's not hard, and it's really very easy to do. It's a 10-inch block. I drew a line using that template, and we laid the bias tape down and stitched it down, and then did the reverse applique right here in the center. So the bias tape is stitched on, and the center is the reverse applique. Okay, so this quilt, I taught this class. You know, when you're doing stuff like that, you have to kind of test it. And one of my friends took the class and made this quilt and then has donated it. And in a minute, I'm going to talk to y'all about donation quilts and who needs what. Okay, look at this. Precious. Oh my gosh, I love her color. I love everything about this. So she used, I think it was a layer cake. Isn't that cute? Oh my goodness, look at it. So my quilt was 6 by 6. She ran out of blocks at 4 by 6, which is fine. But isn't it cute? Aren't these colors just to die for? They're fabulous. Okay, it's the same thing. She made the blocks, the 10-inch blocks. We drew around the edge of the template. We laid our bias tape. She made all this cute, look at that cute bias tape. I just love that fabric she used. And then she laid that down. We stitched that down, and then we went back and put an eye, a center eye in the middle. So it's this will be something that you'll be able to do too. And then I want to talk to y'all about her. The reason I got it out was she did a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful job. Oh my word! And her binding stitches are truly good grief. They are T90 beautiful. Wow, Becky, I'm impressed. Kudos to y'all. They are perfectly spaced. Goodness, she's amazing. Okay, sorry. Y'all have to tell Becky Chambers I got all impressed. Okay, look, she did the quilting on her machine at home. I had a friend recently said, oh, you can quilt on your own home machine. And I was like, absolutely. That's what I did for the longest time. It felt like a long time, about 4 years before I got my long arm. I didn't have time while I was working to long arm, so I didn't, so that didn't work. And then when I got it was after I left corporate America. But she just followed the lines on the front and quilted this on her machine. She had a walking foot. I want y'all to look at those binding stitches. Can you see how close those are together? Wow. Becky Chambers, that's amazing. Y'all, mine aren't like that. I'm proud to get it hand bound. But she's got at least 10 or 12 stitches per inch. Perfectly spaced. Now, she's given this to us to do as a donation quilt. So, there's an organization that we give adult quilts to. So, I'll talk about that in a minute.
Mindy wants to know when you're going to do that class again.
Oh. I don't have it on the books. Mindy, you want to? When can we get it? This tool will be ready as soon as my packaging arrives, and then I have to have it printed. So I suspect, well, next week is Christmas. Don't count on it next week. Probably the first week of January is what I must say. My bags are in process. The packaging is in process. I have the tools, but I don't have the final copy on the instructions yet. So in a few weeks, it won't be long. I'm very excited. Okay, so here's another option for quilting, and I'm going to show you this. This is a panel that I bought a bolt of this panel because we do the donation quilts to the Salvation Army Angel Tree. Those are the children that have to be that have to qualify for help from the Salvation Army. Their family has to meet a minimum income based on number of people in the house and, all the factors that, whatever their formula is. And in Tyler this year, there were about 1,800 that they were able to help. It has been over 2,500 at some points in the past, but this year it was 1,800. And what we did is our guild, the Christian Quilt Guild and the Quilt Guild of East Texas, which I'm a member of both, each group made quilts, and we ended up together having 87 quilts that we donated. So we did that last Thursday. Today, yeah, last Thursday. Oh, it's so much fun. If you haven't seen pictures, they're out on Facebook on Annie McHugs page. But I bought a bolt of this fabric to use for some of those donation quilts. And what I really like about this panel is that it's already 36 inches wide and 44 inches long. So for a young child, that's about the right size. But so it's just a little panel, right? There's no border on this or anything. I wanted to show you the quilting. So I want you to tell me if you can see. I'm looking at the screen.
You sit still and let me find it.
All right, y'all, I'm going to sit still so he can find it. Right there. Can you see its little hearts? They're kind of cute. Here's some little hearts. So, because this is a baby quilt, and a friend of mine asked if I would quilt this for her soon-to-be granddaughter, who's, they're pregnant. And so I said, yes, I would. So I put baby hearts on it. So that's another thing to ask your long arm quilter what patterns she would recommend for things like that. Okay, more about quilting. I don't think y'all have seen this quilt, but if you have, forgive me. I'm beginning to figure it out. I'm forgetting what you have seen, and what you have not seen. Okay, this was a layer cake. I took a Moda Dot layer cake. I'm going to hold this up as high as I can get it. All ready? Got it?
Got it.
Here I am. Okay, friends, this, I'm going to show you how I did this. Super easy. It's easier to talk about than it is to fold. Okay. I think I'm going to fold it this way. All right, sorry. Okay. This is a 10-inch square. Of course, you can do with the fabric, or what I did is I did scrappy, basically, because I used a layer cake. A girlfriend named Kim, I don't know if, hey, Chris. I don't know if Kim's on tonight, but Kim gave me this layer cake that's the grunge. It's the grunge dots. And I had it, and I held on to it. I bet I held on to it for a year and a half because I just wanted the perfect project. You know what I mean? It's like that. It's got to be something. I loved it so much, so it had to be something special. So what I did was I took my tool and I laid it down. Of course, I drew all this out first, right? You see this small tool? See that? So what I did in the from the big tool in the upper window, all these pieces come as a set, right? So I took the circle and this little piece, and I did 4 circles, and then I did this in the 4 corners, and I repeated that around the edges, but I did something a little bit different in the center. In the very center, I did these, just spaced them around. And there was no pattern. You don't need a pattern. Just, you know, lay it out like you like it. I did that. And then on the sides, 1, 2, 3, and 4, these 4, I did 5 of these and 3 circles. And then in the corners, I did 3 and 3. So it's all the reverse applique. So everything is coming from behind. And then all the way around the edges, I did the 4 circles and then the 4 in the corners. And that was it. And what I did was I took, this is a batik fabric. What I put behind it was a batik fabric, and it was plain, and I dyed it. But you could, you could buy batik and do it. But that was how simple this quilt was, and it looks pretty complicated, but y'all, it is so simple. You just cut holes in fabric and put other fabric in front of it. Behind it, right? So I cut holes, and then I put fabric behind it. It's just that easy. It's really that easy. Y'all like that? I love it. So oh, thank you, Noelle. Thank you. Oh, and I got this out for a very specific reason and then didn't do it. So long arm quilting. Do you see how this is, that is one little pattern. It's just one pattern. Then I repeated it down here. The problem with doing it this way is I had to change threads. Because see, here I did red, but red wouldn't have looked good on the pink and the gray. So I had to change. And on the purple, I used purple. And on the gray, I used gray. So when you do that to a long arm quilter, you know you're adding money, right? You know, you're adding time and effort to that. But because it was my quilt, I could. And then I used a pattern just all over the edge. And then, y'all know, this was just a whole cloth back. I mean, I bought a big, backing piece at the... Have y'all ever seen one of these before? This is when you have a hook and you want to hang your quilt like this. That little loop. Remember the shirts? They used to put them on. Yeah, it's the same thing. Okay, I think I'm done. Except I'll show you one more. Now this is a donation quilt, and our little quilt guild, the Christian Quilt Guild, some of the women are, and I'm one of them, are drawn to helping an organization called And Then There Were None, and it is women who are exiting an industry where they have worked, and it's the abortion industry. So they're getting out of the abortion industry. Well, what they found, there's a ministry that helps them transition, because there's a lot of emotional baggage that happens when these women leave that industry. So they, I'm so distracted by what my husband is doing. And it's not his fault, it's me, because he's putting things away for me. Sorry about that. So anyway, And Then There Were None. And so we're collecting quilts to give to the women that go to a retreat a couple times a year. And another thing is you can have your labels printed at Spoonflower if you have a JPEG. But look at this quilting. It's an all-over quilting. And you see how it's just kind of flowy and leafy sort of feeling. Well, the reason I chose this pattern, what inspired me to choose this pattern is, look at this great quilt. I did not make it. And here's the back. And this is another thing. Are you seeing the yellow? Yellow's going to be really big. I'm just telling you. Mark my words. Yellow's going to be really, really big. Okay. So if you look closely, there are a lot in this, and it's a set of batiks, and this is just what's called a rail fence. These 5 strips are sewn together and then cut. However wide that is, that's how long it is. So these are all blocks, and then they're just turned back and forth. So it's a beautiful quilt, but this batik has a lot of leaf patterns in it. Do you see that? Just kind of some motifs through there that are leaves. And so that's what inspired me to choose this leaf looking pattern. And I did it in a light color and the yellow so that it would maybe show up a little bit, but not too much. And this is one of those examples where you have very angular, very linear and very angular sort of blocks. So the quilting is a little bit softer and more flowy. So I don't know if that has helped y'all at all tonight, but I sure hope it has. Long arm quilting is, people who do it are, here baby, that's where it goes. He's such a good helper. I couldn't do life without him. Okay, so, and I keep telling him that too. I asked him today, he was going down to the boathouse and he was going to drain the pump. So we have a boathouse. We live on a lake. We have a boathouse and it has a pump in it. And all summer long and spring and fall, we water the upper part of the property from the lake. And so it pumps water uphill and then waters our yard so that we have grass and we live under trees. And so there's a lot of trees. So everything needs water because it's Texas. And every year he has to go down and drain the pump and put, winterize it. So I was telling him today, what in the world, how would I ever do that if you weren't here? So we thought of a friend. He told me to call Ed. So, Gail, if you are here, just know that if something happens to Doug, I'm calling Ed. Y'all don't... Oh, what you talk about? I'm telling you, we're so weird. I love batiks too, Tawny, and I know there are beautiful batiks out in the Phoenix area. You can find some beautiful ones. Okay, do y'all have any questions or comments or anything I need to do or answer before we go? I don't know that if I've been any help at all to you tonight, but I hope I have. Know that you've been prayed over today. Every one of you. Know that I have, that I pray that you are blessed and that you are well and that you are joyful during this season. Don't stress about what's going on out there. God's got a plan and we're just part of it. So let's just spread the love, right? Well, I love you all very much. Thank you for being here. And we will be back next week. And I have no idea what we're going to talk about. If you have any great ideas, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to teach you anything you want to know. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.